And welcome back to No Prize Podcast. I'm the professor. He's Lucas. It's July, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is back in movie theaters, and we are going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about Loki, and we're going to talk about some comics today. And I'm just psyched to get going. What is going on, Lucas?
Man, all love is love, man. We're so happy to get back. It looks like we're getting back in the full swing of things with, comics are back, movies are back. Uh, what else is there? What else could we want, right? Even the big blockbusters are back. You can watch them not only in the theaters. You can sit on your butt at home and freaking watch it, which is exactly what I did. So.
Really? We went to the theater. We did the foray on the Thursday night, the 8 o'clock show, and it was me, my wife, the kids, and the theater was sold out, dude. It was packing, and I was so excited to be back. I didn't care about COVID or anything. Nobody else did. The theater erupted into applause when the Marvel logo hit the screen, and it was back to normal. I think everything was back to normal.
Oh.
People clapping, people whooping it up. It was really kind of a celebration of the movies being back, and I would have paid double the price that you can get it for streaming, which I did. So it was worth it. It was worth that, and I even think it colored my enjoyment of the movie. Because I think if we go down the road, it wasn't the top 5 Marvel movies, but I think the just being happy being back in the theater and being able to watch a movie on a 75-foot screen,
Right. So my wife and kids, they went to the drive-in to see this thing. So the drive-in during these times, is a far superior option because you're sitting in your car, right? You're not needing the people that work there to freaking clean your seat and make sure it's clean, and you're sitting in your car. However, the problem with that is that it used to have an option where you used to be able to go on your phone, order the food, and then you used to go up and just pick up your food. They took away the option. Now people are standing in lines to get your popcorn, your soda, and all that other stuff. So that one big benefit that it had over everything, it took it away. So I don't know what to think, man. Especially with everything that's going on. It looks like there's a resurge of all the other stuff going on. But hey.
The way I looked at it, because we did weigh that before we went to the theaters, and me and my wife, the kids, we all had our Moderna vaccine, which is still, I believe, 90% effective against the D variant. So I think we made an educated guess to just let's go, let's just go, and it's fine. It's been over a week. None of us have symptoms, so it wasn't a super spreader event. Not like the New York Yankees and the All-Star game. But no, it was good. I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad we're sitting in theaters. I'm glad Marvel's releasing movies again. And nothing made me happier last week than seeing Black Widow on the screen. And now we're looking forward to Shang-Chi in September. But we get What If first in August. So
yeah. We get it. Man, things are flying by quickly, man.
This year. I mean, we get the lost year in 2020, which we could just forget about. Everybody fast forward through that, and now we're in 2021, and we're more than half over. And we'll be talking Phase 5 and Fantastic Four and X-Men before we know it.
So, yeah, I don't think Kevin Feige is ready for that Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. People are like, "Hey, what about Fantastic Four?" He's like, "No, not yet. Let's see whether or not we crap out in this Phase 4 or 5 thing first.
Well,
and then we'll if we crap out in that, then we'll pull that out of the hat. Then they'll pull the Fantastic Four X-Men thing out of the hat. But until that magical day, they're going to stay with this plan right now.
By the way, is that a Wolverine wrestling buddy behind you or something? What is that?
Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is.
What's up? That's cool.
Little wrestling buddy. I think it's like a pillow or something like that.
Yeah, the
It's
wrestling buddies, man.
yeah, it's a Funko. This is actually made by Funko Plushies, Marvel Lucha Libre edition. This is awesome. So Funko, that is interesting. So did you staying along the comic stuff? Well, so that's Funko, right? And Funko has a partnership, a big time partnership with Diamond Distribution. Funko also has a big partnership with Panini, right? Panini has just been bought by Slam. Slam is a special interest group that invests in other stuff. That company is actually like largely owned by Alex Rodriguez from the New York Yankees. So if you're looking to make a little bit of investment cash, you might want to look into it. It's like $9.80 or something like that. But that definitely could have some reverberations when it comes to the comic world, because this owns that owns that, and a lot of these guys are playing with Marvel, Funko, and all this other stuff. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, so let's break down. We'll break down Black Widow, and then we got the season finale of Loki to get to. So Black Widow, we'll just break it down real quick. It's a prequel because we all know that Black Widow dies in Avengers Endgame. So that kind of takes away a little of the edge of the movie, I think, because we know the stakes, right? We know Black Widow's not going to die, and because she already dies in another movie. But we get to see what happens to her when she's on the run post-Civil War, and basically break down what kind of happens. We find out Black Widow has a family, or a pseudo-family, and we're introduced to them all at once, right at the beginning of the movie, when they have that kind of really flash prequel when they're all young. We have David Harbour playing Red Guardian, which is kind of a bit of a switch from the classic Marvel Universe 616, where the Red Guardian is actually Black Widow's husband, not father. So it's interesting. Yelena Belova, who's played by Florence Pugh, the White Widow, is not related in any way to Natasha in the 616, but here there's sisters, Red Rum sisters, right? But that creates the relationships that carry through the movie and actually make the movie very watchable. I kind of compared this a little bit to watching like a James Bond movie, but with Scarlett Johansson as the lead. So I thought this was really good. It was very watchable. It was funny in all the right spots. They had action in all the right spots. A couple of really big set pieces. The story was typical Marvel fare, right? I mean, there's no big surprises in this. Well, the big surprise is Taskmaster, and I don't know. You could tell me whether or not you were disappointed over that reveal. But I think that was the character they changed the most out of all of them. I really love the idea, and we get to see this a little bit more. So now I'm going to kind of bring in the rest of the Marvel Universe here with kind of like the first class of Marvel Universe characters kind of retiring, right? So we get Scarlett Johansson kind of going away, but with the Black Widow character lives on, right? And the White Widow in Florence Pugh, who going forward is going to be part of the cinematic universe and part of, I'm sure, upcoming Secret Invasion, which we see in the Stinger clip at the end. So what were your initial reactions to watching Black Widow? Did you enjoy it? Was it a nice popcorn movie for you?
Well, let me pull it back. So I was nervous going into this thing because how many spy movies have there been in the last 3 to 4 years where you had a female lead? And I'm always excited for that type of stuff, right? Because you got the context of, you know women, instead of being the hero, you got to go in and you got to save them, right? So I'm always excited when there's a new female spy thing out there because that's the one genre that they seem to do well. But in the last 3 to 4, you've had several, and each and every single one of them has been problematic or just sucked altogether.
Hmm.
So I was getting really nervous about this one. And this one, it wasn't that bad, right? Because it gave really good context. Because it wasn't, hey, I'm a little perfect little freaking spy. It was, okay, I'm imperfect, and just using the training that I was given. And not only that, I have a family, I have a background, right? And then all the little things, because I love the way that as a family, because that's what family does, right? They love you, but they're kind of doing that with pointing pushing their finger and the sides that they know, pushing the buttons that they know how to freaking push.
Yep.
Because every once in a while, every single one of them, from her sister to the dad to the mother, they say, "Oh, I thought you were an Avenger, and an Avenger could do this. I thought you could have a helicopter just flying from the sky. Oh, I thought no, you could have just had the Greek the Swedish god just come out the freaking sky. Oh, I thought you could have the green guy do this. Just every once in a while, just doing this. Even her friend was like, oh, I heard about the Avengers. I heard they're getting divorced right now. That was a crazy way that they were just coming at her, all types of crazy like that.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, you need to have context. Well, you could have had to need context in order to understand that, but I don't think you really needed context. All you needed to know was, hey, this is a young lady that all around the world she's known to be good at what she does, but even at that, she's got friends and family that are just getting at her. Let's just, we love you, but we got to knock you down before we can freaking talk to you like that. So that was great. And it, well, I mean, always the thing that I'm looking for is going forward. Does it really push you so you want to continue and see her story go forward? No, of course not. No, this is supposed to be the closing chapter because yes, she died in previous movies. Of course, it does open it up right now, especially with the Loki series that we'll get into. Timelines are all jacked up.
Yeah.
Realities are all jacked up. So that could also happen. Now, I heard you mention something about her husband or something earlier.
Oh, Red Guardian. Her
Okay,
her father in the movie.
right. So here's an interesting tidbit. At one point, that she's sitting down with her sister, she has a conversation, and she's like, "Well, her sister's like, yeah, I was watching you, and you had a husband, and you had a son." And she said, "What about that?" And she goes, "Well, that's not my story to tell." Huh. Well, that could mean either one of two things. Number one, either this particular Black Widow was not Black Widow, because of course we got the whole Skrulls thing happening, or two, um, earlier in 2020 there was a new Black Widow series that came out, and they introduced a husband and a son, right? Which is really important because, got to remember, she cannot have kids. They took a whole freaking scene and they explained
Yeah.
it. Well, you can't have kids, but no, in this particular series, she of course she still couldn't, but she did have a son. So that one was number one, and number two was like cameo appearances and full appearances and everything. So that one was pretty interesting and pretty shocking. Or three, of course, there's a different timeline on which this would happen. So I think people, especially my speculators, should be keeping an eye on that, because that one had a 1 to 500. Then you had to buy, each retailer had to buy 500 books. That means that's around $2,000 of initial investment for those retailers. But at one point, it dropped down to like $200, right? Because there's so many of them. Even J. Scott Campbell, and that's his cover, he was selling it for like 300 freaking bucks, man.
Hmm.
So that's one to keep an eye out to see if they pursue later on. I don't think they will because not many people are asking that question. I'm asking the question. I'm asking questions like what's going on? First, you took the time out to say she can't have kids. Now so she's got a kid. What's going on, Marvel? You need to expound on that. And then also, going forward, what else need to talk about in the new series? Because that was 2020. In the new series for 2021, there's a new person that is training to be a Black Widow. She and her sister just picked her off the streets, and they're training her to do this and that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's could be another thing generationally that goes forward in the next 3 to 4 years. So, but we'll see, man. Um, the I don't know, man. I enjoyed it, but I don't think this was. Well, I'll tell you what. It's better than Captain Marvel.
All right, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Black Widow was hurt by or benefited from the pandemic and having an 18-month delay in the release of the movie? Do you think that did Black Widow any favors? Because I think it did. I think that 18 months ago, when Black Widow was supposed to be released, I think people might have had a little bit of MC burnout post Endgame. And here I think with 18 months of nothing except a couple of Disney Plus shows and the hype built up for Black Widow after all this time, plus the theaters reopening, I think it benefited the box office greatly. And I mean, just to say, they even have Disney Plus come out and they actually release the numbers of streams for downloads, and they don't usually do that, but they did for Black Widow. To me, I think that was a benefit on Marvel's part because people were clamoring after 18 months to go back to theaters and see this big tentpole summer film. And I think last year maybe it doesn't do as good. So that's kind of where I'm falling. And like I said, I mean, I don't think that it's one of the top 5 in the MCU. And to be honest, I don't think any of the movies this year will hit that mark. With maybe the exception of the Spider-Man movie, but I don't think Shang-Chi or Eternals has a shot.
Ooh, yeah. So here's what I will say. You're absolutely right. You were bringing up all the points that I absolutely believe in my heart. That number one, we were getting burnt out, right? Because there was too many back-to-back movies. It was between back-to-back movies in between the normal MCU, then Spider-Man movies, and then we had to keep paying attention to the comics and all those events and everything. We were just done, right?
Yeah.
So now we've had a break. We even forgot. I forgot that there was going to be a Black Widow movie. You've been reminding me for months, like, hey, the Black Widow movie coming. Here's Black Widow. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Who the heck is the Black Widow? I forgot who she was. I literally have Black Widow on my wall somewhere around here, and I keep forgetting that there was a whole Black Widow. So I was able to relax. I was all that stress of wondering what was going to happen. I forgot all that stuff. But then you've built it up little by little of reminding me what's been going on in the MCU with the great freaking Loki series, right?
Yeah.
Where
he
walked us back and said, "Hey, you've been doing this. This is what the Avengers have been up to. Blah blah blah. They've been doing Thanos." I was like, "Oh yeah," it kind of rewatches what was going on, and then boom, here you go. Here's the series, and it's not crazy at you with the whole freaking. Oh, you got to remember this particular, the powers for this person. No, it's like, hey, this is a person's life story. This is family, and this is kind of how things work in this part. Oh, and not only this is how things work. This is a little corner. Just don't forget that, hey, yes, we had the Avengers, but this is how the rest of the world, right? So this really sets up without even directly going into it, kind of sets up the whole thing with Shang-Chi, right? Because remember, Shang-Chi is the Chinese or Asian set um, for the South Pacific or Pacific side of the world, right? So they can't jack this up.
Hmm.
They gotta stick this one where they introduce some more Asian characters going forward. They gotta stick that. They can't just go, okay, here's Shang Chi. This is his whole thing, and just go off. No, they gotta give us more on that.
So, well, and now I'm just going by the trailer that I saw for Shang-Chi, but let me say I think that they're leveling up the character, right? I mean, Shang-Chi in the Marvel Universe is basically Bruce Lee, right? And
Yes.
he's no superpowers. He's just master of kung fu. Um, in the trailers that you see a lot of that, but dude, are they giving him Mandarin's rings? Because obviously the Legend of the Ten Rings, and then the his father, who's not Fu Manchu like in the comics, but it's a new character. But he has the rings, and apparently the rings expand and fit on his wrists, and there's 5 on each wrist, right? And
Right.
he's blasting like power blasts and stuff. And to me, he ends up. I think they even show a clip of him fighting his dad with each of them have 5 rings on the hands. Did at the end of the movie, does he end up with Mandarin's rings? And that would be a huge level up for Shang-Chi, and that would make him a superhero more than the just a kung fu master. So they've never done anything like that in the comic books. So for them to do something like that, I'm kind of excited to see that movie if they go that route, because it'll make it feel more like a why the heck are they making a Shang-Chi movie other than diversity, right? Because
Right.
I think there were so many other characters that they could have gone to, but
Yeah.
um,
Well, so going back, once again, of the stuff that's been building up to the Black Widow movie. Let's not forget WandaVision, right? And in WandaVision,
yeah,
you had Jimmy Woo, who was there.
right,
He's got to be there. He's a big part of the new Agents of Atlas. He's got to be there. I want to see Shang-Chi hand in hand with Jimmy Woo building up the new team
yeah,
as they go to fight, the rest of the groups of the crime syndicate, the Ten Rings. I want to see that, right? I
that's
don't
a
want
good
to.
shout. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's see that. Dude, if they go that route, that'll be crazy and awesome at the same time, because not only are you doing that, then that gives you time to open up the whole Submariner thing. Um, and people have been speculating on, yeah, Submariner's coming. He's coming. He'll be here, and then that'll bring more interest in, because Black Panther Part 2 is coming out, right? So you'll have Black Panther on one end, Submariner, and the real Agents of Atlas on the other hand, or actually new Agents of Atlas kind of on the Submariner side, but kind of stuck in the middle. It's
yeah.
going to be, oh man, this will definitely get my juices salivating. Um, but yeah, I don't care about necessarily about a superpower Shang-Chi. I just want to see a guy who's just trying to do good and work using the training that he's had. I'm good with an Asian Black Widow. I'm good with that, right? And just kind of show me the rest of the characters in his world. I'm not hype. People are hyped for the Abomination character. They're like, oh yeah, man, he's fighting Abomination. I don't care about the Abomination unless you're trying to set that up for a future fight with the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see that in this movie. So we'll see, man. This is going to be this is going to be a mess. But so far, there. Once again, going back to settling in for this, this is a movie that they could have jacked up easily,
Yeah,
that a lot of studios have messed up, and they stuck it. Good
that's
job.
true. Yeah, good
Good
job.
job.
All right, let's jump over to Loki, because that is the series that of the summer that just wrapped up this week. Um, and we are going to break down the last two episodes. I call episode 5 the Easter egg episode, just because they spend the whole entire episode in what they call the void, which I know that as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, Lucas is going to have a lot. He's going to have a lot to say about the void, and then so we have alternate universe variations of Loki. We find out that the only living people in there are all variant Lokis because they survive, and that in itself, just by looking through like just the sheer amount of shout outs that they had in that episode, it actually distracted me from paying attention to what was happening during the episode, because I was looking at everything in the background where we got a shot of Throg, and we got the helicarrier in the background, or Ronan the Accuser's ship, or the Avengers Tower crumbled in the background. Lots and lots of just background stuff that the shout out the Thanos copter was hilarious, and just kind of to see this is where all the alternate universes go to die at the end of time, and the big purple smoke cloud monster Alioth that they introduced, actually that foreshadowed the episode 6's reveal of who was behind everything, because Alioth is an actual character that appeared in the Marvel 616 universe as a foil for Kang the Conqueror. So seeing that just made me realize that, they are going to introduce it. And just when I thought, because in WandaVision, I think we went through the whole thing expecting there to be some big reveal about the multiverse, and it ended up being in Loki, not in WandaVision. So the final episode, I think, suffered a little bit because it was mostly exposition and sitting in talking heads. There was not a ton of action in the movie. In the final episode, there was maybe a 3-minute clip of the Loki and Sylvie fighting. But other than that, it was just, we're going to explain everything that has come before, and now we're going to set up what's coming up now, and here's your primer. That was what this episode really was. Was the introduction of the multiverse and the timelines, and the brand new spanking villain that's going to be permeating this phase in Kang the Conqueror. However, in this episode, he didn't play Kang. He played He Who Remains. And He Who Remains, really, if you need us to explain that to you, is Immortus. And Immortus is the final incarnation of Kang at the end of time, where he pretty much controls time. He's more of a force of nature than an evil. He's more neutral. And they never said he was Immortus. They called him He Who Remains. They did a line. They did a line where he had mentioned, I have been a ruler. I have been a conqueror. Yeah. And honestly, welcome Jonathan Major to the MCU. I loved his portrayal, and I can't wait to see more. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was he emoting just Denzel Washington all over the friggin' place? Just the look on his face, his line deliveries, the smile, that smug smirk. I was like, dude, this guy must have taken acting lessons from Denzel.
His method reminds me of somebody. I just can't put my hand on it. Nobody's going to mistake that performance for Denzel, because Denzel, he used to that smug. Yeah, I know more than you.
Yeah.
That's definitely Denzel, but his was more of a, I am batshit crazy.
Yeah.
But the crazy guy still knows more than you. He was going for that type of emotion, that crazy Hamlet. I'm about to kill everybody up in this. Just don't push me type of emotion. He had that going. Once again, that is the star from Lovecraft. Um, he was great in that one
That's where
because
I've seen him before. Okay.
yeah, that one's a great series. If you guys hasn't watched season one, and that's all you got to watch because it's been canceled for reasons, weird reasons that to this day don't make any sense. But hey, uh, look, once again, I see where they were going with this, right? Because over the last couple of TV shows that Disney Plus has had, they've they've just put the content out there and then they ended it and they didn't really take any time to explain what did we just watch. So Loki did that, right? Because if you're a regular comic book reader, you understand what's going on. You're like, got it, great. However, if you're not that person, right? Um, they needed to take the time to explain what was going on, especially if you're going for a season two, which they put in a little Easter egg at the end and say, "Hey, boom, season two's coming." So that was great, right? Because that's the one frustrating thing that's been happening with the Winter Soldier, Falcon stuff, the WandaVision stuff. They just push that at you and it's like, ta-da! You're like, oh great, what
Uh,
just happened?
yeah. What's next? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you're just all these questions that you didn't answer, right? And yes, there's questions that Loki didn't answer, but it's like, hey, this is what's happening now, and maybe, just maybe, all those questions will be answered in season two.
Well, and I think this is a perfect excuse, right, for them to be able to mess up anything. you know, if
Right.
they because the last 25 movies and TV shows and everything, yeah, everybody's watching continuity like a hawk and kind of trying to catch them doing something wrong. And now you can just say multiverse, baby.
Exactly, exactly.
You know?
And you'll never be able to say, well, they're pulling this thing out their butts. No, they've been working, especially in the comics. They've
This
been
has
working
been
on
long
this has
term
been
plans. Yep.
for the last 2 to 3 years. I've been talking about this. Like, man, this Nexus thing. They even did it in the the whole null thing. They threw those little bits.
Yeah.
So and so now I got to apologize to the people who wrote like Donnie Cates and Al Ewing, because I was like, okay, you did this whole big series, and then at the end it was crappy and didn't make any sense. But now that I'm seeing what's going on is that a lot of this stuff has made it into Loki series and Black Widow, crazily enough, and it's made it into to some of the other comics, right? Between the Carnage series and I forget the name of the other stuff and some Thor stuff. It looks like that particular Null series was supposed to be pushing characters that's going to go for the whole Marvel stuff. Like you talked about the Void, I've been talking about the Void for forever,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Like holy crap, since the '60s, the Void has been a thing that they've been trying to push and explain what's going on. People, like I just had on another podcast, I was just talking with the guy who was like, "Oh yeah, actually, excuse me, there's a guy out there on this new thing called Whatnot." He was like, "Yeah, this is the first appearance of the Black Knight Thunder Cloud thing." He was like, "No, brother, it's the '60s. They've been doing this thing for a while. It's just now that they within the same sentence, the old Loki from the '60s said, "Hey, the Void, also known as Goliath." So that was an interesting thing that I don't think people are putting together right now. That was
Right.
loved it.
Yeah.
Um, here's another interesting thing that's been happening, and once again, I know people don't like talking about speculation stuff and all the other crazy stuff, but here was an interesting thing that people have been jumping on. Remember this? Remember the whole thing with Kit Loki and how he's sitting around? Well, the people are going crazy over this thing because he's sitting in the throne and he's actually drinking a high C Ghostbusters Ecto Cooler.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't notice
So
that.
yeah, so people are going crazy because this is from my era, right? That was the thing, right? We loved Ghostbusters, we loved our high C, and when they combined this, oh man, that was the stuff. Now what? people are going crazy over is trying to find. Remember, this thing hasn't been produced since the '80s, right? People are trying to find these boxes, right? And people have been finding them, and they have been selling them for thousands of dollars.
Jesus Christ.
The last one that actually sold, it actually sold for cheaper than that, sold for $599. But people don't realize how rare this thing is because yes, there are plenty of high C Ectocolor boxes out there, but the one that actually had Slimer on the carton box, those are actually a lot more rarer. So people are out there looking for that thing right now. You're not going to find it, of course, because it's 1980s. But these things are out there. So if you your family happen to have a time capsule when there's some high C ectocolor in there, you might want to dig that thing up and see, hit check and see if the thing's still on there, because people are going crazy for that, man.
That's hilarious, dude. My son,
Uh,
so my son noticed something, and I don't know if you probably don't have a screen capture shot of that, but in that same scene where they're in the bowling alley and it's all the Lokis just kind of talking, there's a scene where in the background there's this video game console, like a floor console, and when my son was watching it, he was like, "Oh, that's the mythical game." I can't even remember the name of it, but I guess that there's this legend of a supposed floor console back in the '80s of a video game, which never really existed because I mean I lived through the '80s and I didn't know what it was. But it was one of those things that was in the void, and it was kind of like one of those cute little Easter egg, which was a non-comic book nerd Easter egg. It was just for they just threw in there, and I thought that was great, like attention to detail. Like I was really kind of looking for basically anything that they might be able to throw in there, and
uh,
just I was amazed at just the level of detail that they did, and in that episode alone, and that's why I call it the Easter egg episode because you got to have your head on a swivel. Uh, yeah,
there
that's
you
the
go.
one. Yeah.
Polybius. Yeah,
Polybius,
that's
yeah.
Polybius.
Yeah, that's what my son said. That's like a mythical video game console. Didn't really exist, but it's someone created that. There was like a myth of that game, and no one ever remembered playing it. But it was supposed to be like the best game ever. I actually thought that was really funny. Um, did you like all the different Lokis? I kind of thought I got a kick out of watching all the different Lokis kind of uh,
Yeah, I
going at
mean,
it.
yeah. Once again, that is something that's been built up within the last couple of years, right?
Mm.
Talk about bringing out the Kid Loki thing.
Yep.
The what else do we have? Oh, the alligator Loki. I wasn't familiar with the one black Loki out there with the golden hammer and everything. I wasn't familiar with that one. The whole Enchantress Loki.
Mm.
That's that. I wanted them to go into that a little bit more, but you got season two to do that, because even though she thinks she's Loki, she's not really Loki. She's actually controlled by the Enchantress. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The old Loki, once again, that old Loki, that's my favorite because that
Yeah.
Loki was the Loki before even before Marvel was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Classic Loki. That was
yeah,
classic.
like real. That's like the real Loki. So when they say, well, he's kind of powerful. Yeah, he's kind of powerful because he's the OG Loki. So
Yeah.
I like that. Man, that was a really good way to do this, man. If you're going to have the variants, bring all the Lokis that we know and love, or at least put some hints of all the Lokis in there. The only one we're missing is the end Loki, right? That's the
Yeah.
all powerful Loki. That is like he's like a null force at the end. So there's like the Thor force, and there's like the Loki force at the end. So that's the only thing that was needed.
So now this this might probably make me a little angry if and when they do this, right? Um, but this also opens the door, and we know that with the Spider-Man movie coming out in December, that we're getting Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back as Spider-Man. This opens the door for them to recast any of the major Marvel characters and have it be okay with the audiences and be easily explained away. So if they don't, like, if they want to bring in another Iron Man, they can bring in an alternate universe version of Iron Man, not played by Robert Downey Jr., maybe played by someone else, and have it be easily explainable and people be okay with it. I don't know if anybody will really be okay with a non-Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man or a non-Chris Evans Captain America, but there it is. I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because of the franchise. You know, you gotta have a Captain America, you gotta have a Thor, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. You can just recast the next generation. Tom Holland will eventually get replaced as Spider-Man, but now this gives more legs to the MCU, where the reboots aren't reboots. They're just continuation of the stories that we've already seen, and actors playing the parts. And I think that that gives Marvel more of a life cycle, and this it almost needed to happen, right? Because we just saw the end Avengers Endgame, where the basically all the characters that we've loved for the last 10 years are now no longer under contract, except for Tom Hiddleston, apparently, who is now going to be playing Loki forever.
Yes,
So
yeah, oh man, so yes, the the possibilities are endless with this. Now, because now, guess what? You get to live in a reality where X-Men are actually a thing.
This is true.
They didn't exist before, but now they are a thing, right? Now you live in an existence where Wanda wasn't, as bad, or where she wasn't as nice as she was, as she wanted to kill everybody, and she does kill everybody. You live in all type of crazy reality. So what I did find interesting was going back, and I started noticing it early, but then it was a little thing that I noticed early, but now it was a central story point, right? Is that every time any of those people, the variants, the TVA, went through a portal to go to somebody somewhere else to do a mission, and they would come back, the statues changed in very subtle ways. And I was like, I was thinking, that's a different statue. No, they were going to some other world and then coming back into a different world every single time. And you got to go back and you got to freaking look at it. It was kind of subtle, because they had these guys, right, and then there's actually ones where you actually just have statues where it's just the one guy in the middle, and then of course at the end now you just have the one statue, and that's become the central point.
Right.
So I think I love that little Easter egg that people once again aren't tracking. But now you got to deal with the king that isn't the nice guy. He isn't just the guy he remains. You're going to have to deal with the one that he wants to be the conqueror and wants everybody to know and fear him. Between whether and you mentioned the fact that they talked about the one that rolls over everything, that was Ramatut. But he was back in the Egyptian times, like old Egyptian times, or maybe that time was the 31st century. It just happened to be that they were not so technologically advanced that it just happened to be that Egypt ruled it. So that becomes amazing to me and mind blowing to me. And I want to see how that all matches up.
Well, he still has a time machine no matter where he goes. So
yeah.
But let's take a quick break. I know we're running really late, and I'll see if I can fix my video during the commercial, and we'll be right back.
All right. Well, it looks like the professor could not fix fix his video on time, so I will continue by myself until he's able to actually get in. Uh, let's let me go ahead and let me push something. I think I will go with Sinister War. Let me pull this one up. Bang. Sinister War, man. This is oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. It took me a little longer than 30 seconds to fix my video, but I'm good.
So, which series did you want to go with next?
Let's go with Sinister War, seeing as to how you just put it up there. That's good. We
Okay.
could talk Sinister War. I really wanted to come in here and really kind of just destroy the issue, because there's some of the problems that have been plaguing Spider-Man in Nick Spencer's run are very on display here. But we'll get into it. So we have Nick Spencer's writer pencilers Mark Bagley, and we have a foray of inkers Andrew Hennessy, John Dell, and Andy Owens, colorist Brian Reber, letterer VC's Joe Caramagna, and we have cover artists. Welcome back, Brian Hitch and Paul Mounts. Brian Hitch has been over at DC for a long time, yeah? This is the first time I've seen Brian Hitch back at Marvel in a while.
It is, man. I don't think I've seen his name in a while. I don't know what he's been working on, but it's not a bad gig when you get to jump in on a Spider-Man.
Well, I knew it was a Brian Hitch cover as soon as I saw it. I was like, "Wait, Brian Hitch! Wow, what's up?" But so the thing, and I'm going to complain a little bit about the just the sheer amount of characters in this book, where you really, really, really need a scorecard to kind of keep all of Nick's dangling plot threads that he's had throughout his run are all converging. I believe that this is Nick Spencer's swan song on Spider-Man. I think he's out after the Sinister War, maybe after maybe there's a wrap up for Sinister War, but I do believe he's out. But this book is wrapping up the Mary Jane limited series. They bring that whole storyline into this. We are treated to the Savage Six, the Sinister Six, and the other groups, and I don't know if they're calling them like six numbers or anything like that, but it's basically every villain that Spider-Man's faced in the last 3 or 4 years, all in this issue. It's pure chaos. I think that's actually what it's designed to be. We also have Mephisto with Doctor Strange in Las Vegas, kind of playing craps and and basically gambling on the life of Peter Parker. And this is going to be the culmination of the Mephisto Brand New Day, right? Where they dissolved the Peter Mary Jane marriage and erased everybody's memory of it. We know for a fact now that Mysterio knows about the whole deal and is trying to tell Peter and Mary Jane about it. And now, and that's going to be Mysterio's motivation in this, where at the end of the issue, he abducts Mary Jane, and I imagine is bringing her to Mephisto. It is really, really, really hard to keep track of everything going on in this issue. It moves really quickly for a 34-pager. And there's a lot going on. That's, I think, almost a detriment almost to the book. But when I think about the fact that this is probably going to be the wrap up for all of Nick's storylines that he's going on, I really think that he has to throw everything but the kitchen sink in this. What did you think of the kickoff to Sinister War?
Here's been the problem with a lot of the Spider-Man titles that I've had, is that this is just another title where they just threw out a whole bunch of characters out there remember the Craven storyline where they had Kincaid and and they trapped a whole bunch of characters that were related to animals,
Yeah.
and there was like 50. This feels like the same mess to me.
Yep. There's
The same
too
exact mess.
many characters, right?
And then we just had a storyline recently where it was Spider-Man and the rest of the Spider family, and they had to go off and fight somebody. I forget who it was.
Kindred. He's right in this issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened to that storyline?
Yeah. Well, they're
They never.
wrapping it up. They're wrapping it up in this Sinister
you
War.
know, it's too many. Like, look, kids love Spider-Man. I respect the stuff that they've done with Spider-Man. Just stop. You don't need to remind me about all the bad people and all the villains and everything. Just pick one particular storyline. Hey, this week this is what's happening. This week, I'm still stuck off of. Hey, there was Spider-Man, and then he was, hooking up with Bullseye, and then there's the tablets of life and death and everything. I'm still stuck on that storyline.
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for that storyline to end before you go on to this other mess, right? Nobody cares about the one more day freaking storyline, right? The people were just wanting to forget about that. Nobody was waiting for them to fix it. They left the bad taste, just forget it, just leave it in trash. But we're going to open up this other thing to try and fix it and address it, which they've done several times, and each time they fail.
So in one of the pages in this issue that you realize that Peter has a ring and he's going to propose to Mary Jane again. So so that is a resolution one way or the other, where either Peter's going to ask Mary Jane to marry him again and then realize that they've been married the entire time, or they had been married before. And Mephisto made everybody forget. So that there's going to be some resolution there.
Well, would you want to marry Mary Jane after you find out that she's been hanging out with Mysterio the whole time?
She got some splaining to do.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, I understand. A lot of people, a lot of you fans will say, well, no, Spider-Man, how can he not be with Mary Jane? Well, this is a new day, gents. If you find out that there's one bad thing that your lady has been hiding from you, you don't marry her. You keep her on the back burner as long as you can, because this is not she had sales receipts from Target from you. She's been hanging out with one of your worst enemies, one of the worst people in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Can you trust her? No, you can't trust her. You left Black Cat, one of the sexiest women in the MCU universe, so you can hang out with MJ, who doesn't even live with you. She's been hanging out in California. That was her choice. That's what's crazy about it.
Yeah.
They should have brought this up quicker than this. This should have been screw all that Savage Six and versus the other six stuff. They should have brought this up. That should have been like page 2. Oh, by the way, this is Mysterio. Go. Oh, excuse me, Mary J. You've been not only have we not been together for the last year, but you've been hanging out with my worst enemy.
That's what they should do, right? They should have like a Sinister Six where it's just all Peter's ex-girlfriends. That would be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got to remember, there was those that group of 6 ladies, right, with the villain outfits.
They're all in here.
They should have all been his ex ladies, right? Freaking just doing what they got to do, And oh man, we trust me, I've been in that situation where your exes meet each other and they just would have screwed with you a little bit. Trust me, I've been here, so that would have been a real thing.
You have a Mary Jane, Black Cat, bring back a Gwen Stacy clone, and then you have throw in Carly Cooper, who is Menace, right? And then you have we'll do Deborah Whitman for Johnny and give her some kind of alter ego. There's 5 anyway. There's got to be a 6th one, I'm sure. Betty Brant. But there you go, bang, 6.
Yeah. Look. I mean, I'm past the time when I I liked the Spider-Man just had regular guy problems where he couldn't pay the rent, his job. I'm past that. I need him to have real man problems. I need him, and Mary Jane to argue about the little stuff now and then. How is it that he had been hanging out with Black Cat and all that other stuff, and that didn't come up more? You know, Mary Jane, she's been hanging out in California. How come they haven't been arguing about her not being able to pick up the phone on time?
Yeah.
We need them to have 2021 problems.
A little domestic. Yeah, a little domestic going on.
Yeah, hey, Spider-Man, I saw you hanging out with Silk. What was that all about? That's what I need. Because so once again, I wasn't tracking when Silk was in her beginnings, but I didn't know that her and Spidey were a thing until recently. I was like, wait, hold up, wait a minute,
That was her first appearance.
Yeah. And now every once in a while they're just going off and doing everything. And Mary Jane doesn't care. No. I need look. And I'm gonna say this, and y'all can hate me. You can send the mail to 432. You can PO Box, Ski City. I need Spidey to have black people problems. I need that. I need these women to be more real, more popping off as Spidey, putting him in check, because this stuff that he's getting away with will not fly in the black community. I'm sorry, man. Look. We understand that the black community loves Spidey because look how they've embraced Miles Morales. We love him. We think he's real about it. Give me Spider-Man, black man problems. Oh, yeah, he lost his job. Yep, gotcha. He's got a problem with the rent. Yep. I need him to be pulled over more by the cops. I need him to have those type of problems. Let's bring Spider-Man up to 2021. I want him to be in the car with Miles Morales, and them all of a sudden, freaking pulled over, and they're figuring, hey, why do you have these shooters in the back? What's going on with that? Where's your Spidey? Where's your Avengers papers? Do you have a license for all that? I need him to have those freaking top problems. Bring him back to 2021, Nick Spencer, for God's sake. Come on now. This is man. I'm tired of the he's a genius and all those. Yeah, yes, there's plenty of smart people, but guess what? There's plenty of smart people out in the world, but guess what? They still have normal people problems, and I'm not seeing that.
I'm gonna request Al isolate Lucas's rant, and this can be our new ad for No Prize Podcast. Yes, bring Spider-Man to 2021 and give him all the black people problems. That would be just fantastic.
Look, we've got this whole pandemic, right? And we're about to be on the precipice of the end of the moratoriums for rents and mortgages. A lot of people still don't have work. They're still fighting, for equal pay or really good pay and everything. I want Spider-Man to have a job, but I want him to have a really crappy job, right? Where he's not getting paid enough to do the rent.
Yeah, to make a living wage.
Right, right. And then in the meantime, you get Mary Jane. She's out in California doing her whatever, and then she comes home and she sees Spidey freaking sitting on the couch playing video games all day, and she's like looking him up and down, like, "Hey, what the heck, dude?" That's a 2021 problem that I want to see. Look, I respect the hustle that artists and writers have to do, but they're not bringing enough of real people problems to this whole deal. And I'm really, who I'm really disappointed in? That's Tanisha Coates, right? Because he has marketed himself as the person and the writer that's been able to do that. None of that has applied. He has not been able to do it whatsoever. He has absolutely failed, right? I was like, okay. And they put him on the Captain America joint, right? I was like, okay, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. Maybe he's gonna be able to do something, even though I absolutely hated his Black Panther stuff, right? Tanisha Cates, whatever his name is, excuse me. He could put together 2 to 3 good pages where he says, hey, this is America. These are the problems, and then that's it. He has not been able to put together 2 to 3, issues where I'm like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. No, but what concerns me is that now he's been given a script or been tasked with putting together a script for Superman, for a black Superman. That
Oh,
concerns me
really?
right now. Yeah, that concerns me right now. So, but we'll see. Once again, we're talking about Marvel writers.
I
Give,
think Marvel writers are kind of hamstrung by what editorial has kind of edicted to them what they need to kind of stay in their lane, kind of, or they need to actually focus on the issues that are important to Marvel, so to speak. You know,
right.
not exactly. I think they're
I think
policing the writers a little too much. So that maybe that's why you know, Coates' work suffered. Because I agree with you. I didn't think his Captain America work was great either, and I actually expected to see like a different, maybe like a different type of a voice coming from Captain America for the last couple of years, and I kind of, you know, it was kind of more of the same. You know, it
yeah,
wasn't. I expected something different and didn't get it. Same thing with Black Panther. You're right. The Black Panther, the whole science fiction angle for the last couple of years where he was in space, that really I kind of think turned off a lot of readers really,
right,
because there wasn't. You know, it was like that's not my Black Panther,
right.
And the fact that during that whole storyline with Black Panther, he was still he was still the chairman of the Avengers, like nothing was going on. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Like, wait, what?
it
Like,
would, yeah, it really threw me off, right? It threw me off as far as what characters are supposed to be doing what, and I know that's probably like a minor quibble now, but it was really glaring with Black Panther, where I was like, dude, is this actually happen in the Marvel universe, like the Black Panther stuff, or is this happening outside? Like, is this like a what if storyline, or is this like a actual happening? Because why is he still captain in the Avengers if he's off in space for X amount of time, right? Because didn't he get his mind wiped? You know,
he
his like
did.
mind was like, and he was like, he didn't know who he was. I was like, but everything's cool. He's at Avengers Mountain and he's hiring the you know, the Gorilla Man to be the butler.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was so. Anyway, let's jump from Sinister War. Where we're already over the hour that we kind of allot. We wanted to talk Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunter, real quick before we wrap up. We were supposed to actually talk about Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunter 2 weeks ago, and ran out of time because, you know, we go off on tangents of, you know, we want Spider-Man to be pulled over by the cops. So
this is going to be quick. This is going to be quick. There is a Star Wars. So what's been going on is, this is happening during the time when Han Solo had been frozen, right?
yep,
So that Corbinite, whatever that he's been stuck in, has been stolen several times, and now it's in the hands of the Red Dawn. Right? The Red Dawn is a crime syndicate that was thought to have been, eradicated, but apparently now they're back. Apparently, one of the leaders, or the leader of the Red Dawn, was Han Solo's girlfriend, and now she's doing whatever, right? So this is once again, this is the storyline that's within that whole thing. Here, now, the whole Star Wars of the Bounty Hunters has several different books that has been connected to it. There's the main Star Wars Bounty Hunters,
yeah,
and
the
there's
the entire Star Wars line.
Yes, sir. There's the Afra, and then there's the Java. So every single book I've really liked so far. Don't care whether the art has been jacked up. Don't care. I like what's been going on because it allows you, or it has allowed the reader to kind of explore the inner relationships of the villains and the crime syndicates and how it really works, especially within the Jawas. And that's really important because I think it's either this week or within the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a brand new character, a brand new bounty hunter that's going to be revealed. I don't know what her name is yet. But that's going to be the big book, right? That a lot of people are going to be looking for, and I think actually it is this week. I'm positive this week because I checked on Midtown and it's sold out. Um, so keep an eye out for that book. If you see it sitting at your local LCS and they have no idea what it is, pick it up. It's the B cover. She's right there on the B cover, and there's a 125. And that's all I have to say about that. What did you think about it, Professor? Have you been loving the series? Was there anything in this issue that kind of pissed you off, or what do you think?
No, this is all good stuff, man. So this is actually the second issue of War of the Bounty Hunters, and it's called the Scoundrels Ball. And I'm going to shout out the creators, Charles Soule, who's been doing a massive amount of great work on the Star Wars universe since he kind of took over, and it's illustrated by Luke Ross, and I remember him from the old Suicide Squad days back in the 80s. Colored by Neeraj Menon, lettered by VC's Travis Lanham, and we get some the cover art by Steve McNiven and Frank DeMarta. I love this book because it does something that I didn't expect, right? Like, who expects in between Empire and Jedi, right? The timeline in between those two movies, that you kind of, what we've all been led to believe was that the Han Solo was frozen in carbonite, taken by Boba Fett, and brought to Tatooine and presented to Jabba the Hutt. That's the story that I've believed for the last 40 years. And now they're saying, oh, hey, Boba Fett ran into a little trouble bringing Han Solo to Tatooine, and he got jacked up and stolen from Boba, and now the Crimson Dawn is selling him to the highest bidder. And of course, this brings in Kira from Han Solo, the Han Solo movie, into the comic book universe for the first time, and that's incredible. And they're bringing back the Dark Sun, which was the crime syndicate from Shadows of the Empire, which was the first expanded universe comics and books back in the early 90s. And that was where we had Prince Shizor, which they haven't introduced yet in the comics. I don't know if they can, but in the second page, all the Dark Sun people are all of his race, which made me think maybe we might see him eventually. And then I'm wondering if they ever bring in, they might bring in Dash Rendar, but I don't know if you even remember that guy. But he was part of the expanded universe, and they actually, when they started relaunching all the toys, they actually had Shadows of the Empire toys, and all those characters had figures and all that stuff. This to me is kind of like a great marriage of all the expanded universe stuff that came before, and really kind of fleshing out such an unknown period of time between movies of Empire and Jedi, because we know that there was some kind of a passage of time, and we know that the characters got to where they were at the beginning of Jedi, where we had Lando on Tatooine, Luke went from a Jedi trainee to a Jedi Knight in that time period. We know, and here we get to see what actually happens to Han, with all the bounty hunters, and I've always thought the bounty hunters were one of the greatest areas of opportunity for the Star Wars universe, and we've seen that on Disney Plus with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett coming this winter. Here they're really kind of playing in an unexplored playground. And I just love the different syndicates. I love seeing all the huts and everything, and how they interact, and all the intrigue and espionage, and then at the end of this particular issue, where Darth Vader shows up, and you're just like, oh, it's on now, and you totally forget about the Empire for this entire issue, and then when you realize Darth Vader shows up, and you know that everybody's in the same spot. You have Boba Fett and Luke and Lando and Chewbacca and Princess Leia and Dr. Aphra, and all the characters are all at the Scoundrels Ball. So now I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm so excited to see what's happening next, because some of these characters have never met each other. Right. Dr. Aphra knows the rest of the cast from Star Wars, but there are some interesting relationships there that I'm really excited to see play out, and if this doesn't end with a Boba Fett series, it's something going on wrong, right?
Right.
I mean, they're really building up to a Boba Fett solo book.
Oh. So speaking of relationships, so another big thing that, uh, so a very big character that is undervalued right now is Administrator Moore, also known as Sly Moore. She was the Emperor's right hand. So while he was a senator, she was his right hand as he came up. In all the movies, she is like over on his right hand side or just like in the background. And then whenever he needs something, she's the one that goes off and does other stuff. She has been amazing because even in the Darth Vader books, they explain that she tried to have Vader killed several times. She even built a robot that had this dude killed, right? And the robot doggone near killed him, was successful at killing him. She has also been the person that when it comes to the clones and all the other stuff, she was the one that was responsible for getting it off on that initial planet where it was developed and getting it to Exelon where eventually would reside. She was the one that did that. When it comes to she was called the queen of called the queen of the empire and everything. She even was rumored to have the emperor's son. Right. People don't know that the emperor has a son, and she is the mother of the emperor's son. Right.
Hmm.
So she is a big character that's out there. So remember, she tried to kill Vader several times, and now Vader is just showing up to this ball to say, "Hey, what's up?" So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, that's to me. That's I think the event of the summer that's maybe flying under people's radar is War of the Bounty Hunters. And I would say if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a fan of the expanded universe, you need to. This is a must buy to kind of fill in the holes between Empire and Jedi. And it's a really fun read. And there's a lot of stuff going on with the main book, and then I think there's 4 or 5 regular monthlies for Star Wars that all fill in the story too. So go check that out. And I think that's probably going to wrap us up for today.
Yes, sir.
we're a little over, but that's
Yep.
good. So see us again in a couple of weeks. We'll be rolling into August next episode. Summer's going to be almost over, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, man. Look, I'll tell you what, Marvel's been getting a lot better. It's just that sometimes they have off weeks, they have bad weeks, but a lot of the good stuff that they have is flying on under the radar. You just got to dig for it, unfortunately.
Right. So I think next episode, we'll break down What If, because What If will be right on the horizon. Then that's the next Disney Plus show. All right. So until then, stay safe. Go out to the movies and see Black Widow, and catch the end of Loki on Disney Plus. Because really, what are you doing if you're not watching that? All right.
Exactly, right.
All right. We'll see you.